Welcome to Ambulance Chasers, episode number 6. I'm Paul Miller, along with my partner Renee Vanette, and number 6. Here we go. I don't think we've done sort of talked about our kids, and in your case, your grandkids.
Yep.
I'm going to do a little bit for my son. Mm-hmm. My son Brendan has been up in Thunder Bay, Ontario.
Yes.
He's a news anchor for the Thunder Bay for TBT News on the weekends and doing field reporting. So if any of you are up in Thunder Bay and you're listening to Ambulance Chasers, Brendan Miller is my son, and I went up there to see him and it is a very different place than Toronto, Thunder Bay. Thunder Bay is a very different place, but some pretty good restaurants, I got to tell you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, some pretty good restaurants. My daughter is in cybersecurity.
Okay.
My stepdaughter is looking to do a master's. And
in what?
Psychology.
Okay.
Maybe neuropsychology.
Oh, yeah.
And we could send her some work maybe one day.
Yeah, well.
And my stepson, he wrote the LSAT.
Really?
And he, whether he goes to school in Canada or the United States, but I think he's going to go to law school. And then, of course, my wife bakes the dog treats for Droolable dog treats. And
Droolable?
Droolable.
I actually thought you said jewable.
No.
That cannot be.
Wait. I'm sorry. I just want to clarify. Did you say like chewable or jewable, like as Jewish?
Yes, that's what I was wondering.
No,
I'm like, was this a specialty line for Jewish dogs?
Yes.
Or what? What's the deal? Yeah.
Yes. So we're real busy at the house right now.
Yeah.
And like she does all the baking at home, has a deal with Pet Value. So there is nowhere for me to sit and eat anymore unless I want to eat dog biscuits.
Okay.
And they're not bad.
Well, they're pretty. They're pretty.
They're
Yeah.
pretty. Now, we have kids different ages.
Yes.
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 You have, I know one of your daughters. I've met your other daughter.
I think so. Aaron. Well, you've met.
I've met Erin a number of times.
Right.
I've been at dinner with Erin and Carl.
Right.
Your other daughter lives in Germany.
Yeah, she lives in Berlin. Her name's Elizabeth.
Right. Is she older or younger?
She's older.
Okay.
She's turns 46 next month. And
Wow.
so it's I've been in this business a long time.
And you got grandkids. You got a lot of grandkids.
Yes,
too.
I do. I have 4 grandkids. My youngest daughter, Erin, she's about 40. She's 44.
She's a bad.
No, I'm just like, she just turned 44.
Give or take.
Yeah. So she's got 4 children, ranging in age. The oldest is 17 and the youngest is 9.
That's crazy because I remember when I started at the firm in 2017, they were babies. Like they were babies.
Yes.
And what did they call you again?
They call me Jamma.
Jamma.
Yeah. And it's just because Patrick, who's the eldest, he couldn't pronounce grandma, so I got Jamma. And it stuck.
Whatever works,
stuck.
right?
Yeah.
And 2 grand dogs?
Oh, yeah, 2 granddogs. One of which was my
your
dog.
COVID dog.
My COVID daughter dog. And then they had to adopt her, so she became a grand dog.
Both are golden retrievers that they have?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's good living.
Yep. Lulu and Stevie.
Lulu and Stevie?
Yeah, short for Stevie Nicks.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that's right, because, our dog Clarence, who's a 125-pound Newfie.
Is that for Darwin?
No, that was Clarence Clemens from the E Street Band.
Of course.
And my the big man. My wife said when one of our dogs passed, if we ever got a really big dog with big jaws, name him Clarence after Clarence Clemens. So We've got the big dog, and that is spelled DAWG. And he's the most gentle thing, but he makes life very, very happy. And I'm sure your dogs. Your grand dogs. The grand dogs are great because you get to enjoy them, and then you don't have to walk them and do anything.
Even when I stay and watch the kids, my daughter gets the dog walker.
Oh, okay.
So
I get that.
I love the dogs.
Yes,
I really do.
I get that.
But yeah, I don't like cold weather and walking.
Well, neither do I. But I got to tell you, and you know how much I hate the cold. Like
yes.
I do not go outside in the winter.
Do you even own a winter coat?
I do.
Well, because you usually show up with just a scarf around your neck.
And a vest. I have a vest and the vest, but I do own a winter coat. And there is and I go from my garage to the parking garage downtown, and I try not to go outside from November 15th to April 15th. Okay.
That's reasonable. That's completely reasonable.
And I've joked with my staff, make sure I have nothing in court in those months because I don't want to walk outside.
Right.
But there is something during the winter with this dog because he's double coat, like he's a winter dog. He wants to be outside in snowstorms.
Right.
And, we walk in the woods, and there's something about the peacefulness of being in the woods, snow falling on this dog, and getting covered, and he's so happy. Mm-hmm. And as much as I hate the cold and the snow, and it actually makes me happy. It really does it, but I hate the winter.
Yeah, but you know what? I love a snowfall. I absolutely love a snowfall. I just do. There's something.
Even growing up in Tennessee, you grew up in.
How many times did I have experienced a snowfall in Tennessee? Not many.
So how many white Christmases do you think you had?
Never.
Never?
Not one.
Not one?
Never.
Not one?
Never. One time I can remember it snowed. It snowed maybe 6 inches, but it wasn't around Christmas. Right. It was maybe in January or February. Right. Schools were closed for 2 full weeks because there were no snowplows. Right. There was no. They had some salt for the major city streets, but I lived in the suburbs, and we were out of school for 2 full weeks.
I just remember, I do a lot of work with these folks in Charleston, and the odd time they get snow, probably as much as Tennessee, it's shut down. And then, of course, now on social media, they've got their kids out there who have no winter clothes whatsoever trying to make snowmen because it's a wet snow that they get. They don't get that really dry snow.
We used to go into the sock drawer and get socks to use as mittens.
Seriously?
I kid you not. I kid you not.
That's so funny. And I guess you guys, people don't own toques or snow hats or winter wool hats.
Yeah, you do. It gets cold.
Okay.
It does get cold, but you don't. I never had snow boots or anything like that because I never had a reason to use them.
And your mom's originally from here, from Toronto.
Well, she's born in North Sydney, Nova Scotia.
She's Canadian.
Yeah, but grew up in Caledon, so yeah.
How much did she enjoy once she moved to Tennessee not having to deal with winter? Or did she miss it?
I don't think she ever missed the big snowfalls.
Yeah.
I really don't think she ever missed that. Because there was 11 kids in her family. Her father was blinded in World War I, so they lived off. Yeah, so they lived off a pension.
Oh, wow.
So they lived poor. I'll put it that way.
Okay.
And so the idea of her parents having to heat bricks, wrap them in towels or in blankets, and put them in bed with the kids to keep them warm.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
that's different. Yeah, that's a different world.
She did not miss the snow. And the other thing she used to always say, it's beautiful the first day it snows. And then it's ugly and brown and dirty after that. But on the flip side of it, she does love the Nashville. That's where, the Nashville weather. But I have to say that the summer humidity and heat in July and August is pretty devastating. It's oppressive.
I was in Nashville last summer, and it was warm.
Yeah.
It was warm.
Yeah.
I guess you get used to it. Like wherever you are, at least. Yeah. We have a family friend whose daughter is in dental school in Phoenix, and she started in August. Well, it was 118 degrees Fahrenheit every day.
But that's a dry heat.
Yeah.
That's what people say. It's a dry heat.
It's like when people told me, oh, you're going to Edmonton? Yeah, it's minus 40. It's a dry cold. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Stop.
Well, it's just like somebody said to me, that when I was in Arizona, that it was or Utah, it's a dry heat. And I'm like, yeah, so is an oven.
Right.
You put your head in an oven at 118 degrees.
It's still hot.
It's still 118 degrees.
Yeah, no, it's and I got to tell you, once it's below zero, it's cold. I don't care if it's dry or not, and windy.
Dry just means you can take a little better. The wet, cold,
it hurts your bones.
It goes right through you.
It goes right through you. I mean, maybe that's why.
Nashville is even though we don't get snow, it's wet.
Yeah.
And so the cold it gets to your bones for sure.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So we're not vacationing in Nashville in the winter. Is that fair?
No, I mean, I not.
You'll go
I mean,
visit,
I
but-
go there
yeah.
often in the winter anyway. It's like a vacation from here. So, well, weather-wise, right?
It is.
Yeah, it's balmy almost. So,
It is indeed.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about this thing that we do as law. And what I want to find out, and we got some young lawyers in the firm,
yeah, sure.
and it's always it's funny, especially at the big firms, because I it doesn't feel like it was that long ago that I articled, even though it was a long time ago.
Sure.
The badge of honor that young lawyers want to wear of, I was at the office till 11.
Oh,
I was at 1 a.m. 1 a.m.
Yeah.
What's the latest you've ever worked?
Oh my God.
Did you ever do it like 24 hours
I've done it 24 hours.
during trial?
No, I refuse to do 24 hours during a trial because I will be totally ineffective the next day. So I always get at least 4 hours sleep
Okay.
at a trial because you're better off to be well rested,
Yeah.
and be able to catch up in the morning kind of thing than to not be able to think straight.
But you've done like a 24-hour workday.
Oh yes, I have,
I've
and
never
then went off and went to a golf tournament the next day for work.
How'd you
know.
do?
I sucked. Yeah, I was never going to be good to begin with, but boy, that was that was.
Yeah,
I felt like hell.
And I try and tell young lawyers when they work with me or anyone, we all did long nights in our first, when you're articling in your first couple of years, because you don't know what the heck you're doing, and you're hoping and you want to get something ready for whoever you're doing it for, and you're rewriting and doing this and doing that and doing this, and unless I'm at a trial, I'm never, like, even when I'm at trial now, I got to stop by 10 o'clock at night because there's only so many hours in a day that your body or your mind can actually function.
I kind of have a 9 o'clock cutoff, but I'm up by 4.
You're up at 4 in the morning?
Yeah.
During trial or all the time?
No, during trial.
Okay.
During trial. I mean, nowadays 6 o'clock in the morning is my usual get up time, but
I'm here.
yeah, I know you're here. You're here.
I'm not here at 6. I'm not here at 6.
No, but 9
Yeah.
because it takes a while to fall asleep when you're stressed,
Yes.
and getting up at 4. Then and besides, I've done so much prep before the trial
Yes, of course.
that it's not like I haven't touched on what's going to be happening the next day yet. Like I'm prepared, but you got to get sleep so you can make sense of what you've prepared.
All right. So I remember the worst thing, probably my first or second year practicing. And remember, it's 1997, 1998. I think we had internet. Probably we had the World Wide Web probably then. But
Yeah.
we probably had some, but we had no devices.
Oh gosh.
We couldn't connect to our
Well,
office.
wait.
We
Did you
didn't
have a cell phone then? I did.
Oh yeah, but not like
It was a brick, but
it was a brick. it was a brick, but we didn't have iPhones or Blackberries or anything like that. We couldn't connect to our offices remotely.
No.
And I still remember I was living in an apartment at Bathurst in Edmonton, and I wake up at 2 a.m. and I'm thinking, oh my God, did I miss the limitation period?
Oh.
So I know I'm not getting back to sleep. So I got dressed, got in my car.
What time was it?
2 to 2:30 in the morning. We were working at, my office was at 130 Adelaide
Okay.
West, so
Yeah.
York and Adelaide. I pulled up onto York Street, ran into the building, go upstairs, and the limitation period was 2 weeks later, which, thank God. And I wasn't sure if I should tell my boss that I did that, or should I just keep it quiet, because it sounds like I'm really responsible. And it also sounds like I'm really irresponsible for not having it diarized properly necessarily, or being, but that was the worst feeling.
Well, okay. What did you do? Did you end up telling him or not?
Hell no. He scared the crap out of me.
Right. No, exactly.
No, I didn't tell him. I told the other guys I worked with who were sort of my age.
Right.
But I wasn't telling the senior guy. And everything was fine.
Right.
But but I remember driving down. It's like one of those things. And then I would tell other people, and they said, I had the same thing happen.
Oh,
like it was not novel. And the fact is, like, technology is so great now that if I had to get up in the middle of the night,
you could check it
I'd
at
log on at home.
Yeah. But I still have the recurring nightmare that it's my last semester of law school. And I've just didn't go to class. I always went to class, in law school.
Yeah.
But and then I missed the exam, or there was a paper due. And if I didn't turn in that paper, then I was not going to graduate. And I missed the deadline, and that was that. I was not going to graduate.
Terrible, huh?
And but it's I don't have it every week, but I do have it a couple of times a year. Yeah.
I have the same thing. Like, I remember, I can't remember when it was. Maybe it was sometime in the fall. And, I was inundated with stuff. And I just had this dream that our partner, Adam Wagman, asked, who can do a trial for me? And for some unknown reason, I put my hand up. And we were like in a partners meeting, and I'm looking around, fine.
Yeah.
And it was, and I wake up, like cold sweat.
Yeah.
And I'm looking around, I'm like, where the is Wagman?
Yeah.
So I come in the office a day or two later, I see Adam, I said, I am so pissed with you.
Yeah.
He said, why? I said, because you asked who could do a trial. I put my hand up, and you didn't say, no, Paul, you've got enough. But it was one of those vivid dreams that felt so real. And I woke up, it's like, okay, I think I need a vacation now.
Yeah.
Right? And it's a terrible feeling, but young lawyers have to learn that it takes time. Because you or I can do something in an hour now, it might take them 3 or 4 hours. And then that's why we call it practice, right?
Exactly.
Because you're going to get better at this.
But, I think the mentality of younger lawyers nowadays is much different than the mentality was when I was first called to the bar.
What year were you called?
2002.
Okay.
So I was long in the tooth. I was 40 already. So, that would make my perspective quite different from somebody else's. But I would stay every night till at least 10 o'clock. That was my routine. And then
did you have to, or you just wanted to impress?
No,
because there was a lot of that back when I started, because I remember that.
It had nothing to do with who else is at the office and who I can impress. No, it was I had work to do, and I was going to get it done. And I was going to, in the early days, it was about perfection.
Right.
Not that I knew what perfection was, but I was going to strive. I was going to re-edit and edit and edit, until I thought it read like a novel until you give it to the
and you get this.
Yeah,
like,
you're like, oh, I spent all that time, and it was just
why is this paragraph here?
Yeah, like why is this here? It's not relevant.
Right.
Oh, okay, well, but still, and I remember that. I came over here, I was 2005, so I was 3 years after my call.
Yeah.
And Megan Hull, who she might have been I forget what year call, but she's a few years behind me.
Okay.
She and I started here at the firm 1 month apart.
Right.
And I remember we burned the midnight oil together.
Right.
And we kind of motivated each other. And it was nice having company around.
Oh no, for sure, it is so much
to go
nicer.
eat dinner with or something,
or just be able to, for 5 minutes when you've sort of hit that wall at 8 o'clock or 8:30, just go into her office and just talk.
Decompress.
Like I know, like when we were doing the trial last year, there was 4 of us in the office. It was Valerie and myself and our 2 co-counsel, and we'd be here till 9:30, 10, and it was just nice that, I'd go in my office, and Joe Fiorante would come down from the boardroom just to shoot the because he needed the break.
Yeah.
Like, and listen, they were in from Vancouver for a month, and so that's not easy.
No.
And it does make it for young lawyers way easier when there's another person or two here of their vintage in terms of year of call, rather than a partner. I think.
Well, it's interesting. When I was articling and in my first 3 years, I was at Hughes Amos, and there were a lot of partners who stayed very late there.
Oh yeah, no.
They did. They really did. Paul French, God rest his soul, he was there, and he was always a great person that I could walk into his office and say, Paul, I got this issue, and I'm just not quite sure which direction I should go, and he would guide me through. And so it was really nice having that. But the lawyers who were of my call, they, I remember Jerry Gill, who's still practicing here in Toronto. He used to come in and he would analyze things for me, talk. And every once in a while I'd say, yeah, Jerry, but what about this? Or, yeah, but what about that? And then that's all I would say. And then he would say, you know what? This has really helped me a lot. And he says, I know what I'm going to do now. And he'd leave, but it's just having a sounding board.
It is.
Yeah. And that camaraderie. It really is that camaraderie.
Oh, there's a bond that you will have, like you and Megan are still as tight as ever,
yes,
and that won't change.
No.
And it's so important, and I think, but I don't think the young lawyers, they don't work like that. And maybe it's because you can work at home so easily now. After hours, you couldn't work at home. Like you could take stuff home, sure.
Yeah, but you'd be taking boxes.
Right.
Like it was hard to take stuff home.
Right.
Any substance.
Right. You could take maybe a legal memo that you were working on, or a factum or something like that, and take home something small.
Right.
But you couldn't work on a file the same way as you can.
You couldn't.
Maybe you take the med binder home to go through and you're highlighting.
Oh my God, the days of the dolly with the boxes, and then you go over the streetcar tracks, and they'd fall off, and in the middle of traffic you got papers flying everywhere. I mean, I remember those nightmares.
So do I. And so what's worse? Okay, here's my question.
Yeah.
Because I had both of them as a articling student and a young lawyer. What is worse, having to get that trolley over the tracks when it's 100+ degrees and you're in your suit clothes, whatever, or in the winter?
Oh, I'll take winter anytime.
Will you?
Oh yeah. Well, unless it's snowy, like it's different.
Yeah, I'm talking about slush.
Slush
snow.
is a whole nother.
Because if that
issue.
box falls,
I just remember the first trial. I was an articling student.
Yeah.
The first trial, and the lawyer who I'm not going to say who he was.
Hey, you'll tell me again later.
He was like 6'4", 6'5", and I'm like 5'8", 5'7.5", 5'8", and I'm in high heels. Click, 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 and I'm pulling a dolly with 6 boxes on it, and he's carrying nothing.
Yeah, no.
I mean, and it was like, and I strained my shoulder, I'll have you know, and it took me many months of rehab to get over that.
I remember doing the
But
same
it just was a very different time. Very different time. Like, I think that most men would probably help me with the boxes nowadays. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I remember talking to someone who we were thinking about hiring, and she said, I think it was a she, it was he. The person said, I really want to work for you. I said, well, maybe you will. That'd be great, but understand, no one works for me. You work with me.
Right.
But back in our day, you worked
for
the.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You worked for them, and it was different.
There was a lot of screaming back in those days.
Oh my God.
Well, back when we started, I mean, there
Oh,
was a lot of screaming, and there was a lot of,
abuse.
am I going to get,
There was abuse.
Yeah.
There was abuse.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember at the firm I articled just being screamed at by this one lawyer and calling my mentor on the weekend from the firm and saying, this is what happened. What do I do? Like, am I going to lose my, like, it was terrible. You don't do that now. You can't do, you can talk to people. You can't be screaming at people.
Yeah. I mean, that's one thing that does not happen here.
No.
Like,
no, I was going to say, I have never heard anyone raise their voice. You might hear someone from their office use a 4-letter expletive to themselves.
Yeah.
But it's never directed at someone, at your staff, at your associates, or whatever. You just, very respectful, but it is completely different. Probably for the better. Probably for the better.
I really think for the better.
Working out of fear is never good.
No, because you're going to screw up because you're so nervous.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, it's being set up for failure, really.
It is, and especially young lawyers, they're going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
And
really, really and truly, unless someone's missed a limitation period,
there's nothing that
everything
can be fixed.
And the other thing is, and if your juniors missed a limitation period, sorry, but that's on you.
It is. It is. I actually tell anyone that starts with me, we have insurance. We don't want to use it.
Yeah.
We have insurance. We are not cardiologists. We are not oncologists. We are not brain surgeons. Mm-hmm. There isn't anything we can do that's going to cause someone to pass away. Mm-hmm. So if you make a mistake, and we've all done it, just tell me.
All right, because we can do something about it.
Right. And I remember, I might have talked about this before, I don't know. At one of the firms I worked at, a law clerk did not tell me about a potential missed limitation period. Hid it for me for 6 weeks. Yeah. We ended up fixing it. Yeah. And I remember going to court, and I had to argue discoverability on a personal injury chronic pain type case. Sure. And I still remember that it was the Friday after American Thanksgiving, because I remember coming back from court and watching the Leafs and Flyers play an afternoon game on a Friday. And I just remember it was after Thanksgiving. Right. And I can still remember that. Like, it was 2:00 in the afternoon. And, we got rid of that clerk just because you couldn't trust the person. Well,
and this is the one thing I find. Yeah. I think that the way you treat your staff correlates with the way with how they react to situations such as the one you've just described. Yep. And I'm not saying that you treated your clerk badly, but there has to be a trust that's built up as between the lawyer and their team. Yep. And everyone needs to know that they have each other's backs. 100%. Because if a mistake happens, I want to know about it right away. Right. Not so I can scream at them or be upset with them, but so that I can fix it. Right. And it goes well beyond within the practice. Like, if someone's I remember one of my team members years ago, I was told had a guy break up with them. Yeah. I knew I could not go and ask the person for any details. I went to one of my staff members. I said, listen, I heard this happen. Please tell that person if they need to take some time, if they need whatever. That goes so far in that we actually consider them as a person. Right. And, I don't want them leaving for 2 or 3 weeks. But if you're having that much trouble at work, you're not going to be any use to me. Go home, get your together. Let's start new. And I remember that helped that person so much. It took them 2 days, came back. And this was years and years ago, but it helped so much. And I can tell that built a bond within the team. Right. Right. And it makes the world of difference that they don't have to come to you and say something because they're embarrassed or they feel bad. They don't know what to do. But if
you go to them or you get the message to them?
Well, it's funny. One of the ways that I deal with my staff is I ask them. I mean, I build that trust from day one where they don't have to get somebody else to come to me. So, and this is just different ways of handling different situations. And I'm always interested in knowing, what's going on in their life. If they've had a vacation, where'd they go? What was exciting about it? Whatever. If there's been a death in the family, if it was a cousin or what, like it doesn't matter what it was. So that when the big things come up, and sometimes people are just burnt out. They've just had too many things come their way, and it may not be at work. It may be just life circumstance. Then they need compassion.
Right. I mean, my law clerk, Ryan, who's been with me for just around 10 years now, I was texting her on a weekend. I sent her like a meme or something. I don't know. Yeah. And I said, I hope you're having a good weekend. And it was like, this is the worst ever. Everyone's got norovirus in the house.
Right.
So, and it was tough on her. And, she's got young kids. And she then needed to take a couple days just to recoup at home. And she then texted me, it was another day during the week, and it's like, you're not going to believe this. Her daughter, DJ, had to be taken to the hospital for a cut. They thought she needed stitches. And Ryan's like, God, when's God going to give me a break? I said, God gave you a break. How? I said, can you imagine if this happened and you were at the office and it was 4:00 and you were just leaving? You would have been going nuts. How great is it that you're at home?
Right.
She was so appreciative, just like, when you make light of it a little bit, just to
put it in perspective.
And that she was home. Like, she was able to get in her car, go get her 5-year-old, take her to the hospital right away.
Sure.
Rather than, and any mom with their little girl, no disrespect to fathers, their little girl.
Or to little boys.
Wants their mom
Yeah.
there when they're injured.
Yeah.
Now, when they get older, sometimes the boy wants their father there. And that happened to me. My son was snowboarding through Snowhawks. I get a call. When your phone rings at 9:30 in the morning on a Sunday and it says Snowhawks on the call display, that's not
What is
good.
Snowhawks?
So it was a program where kids would go up to Blue Mountain or to Mount St. Louis for lessons, and they would I got the call and it was like, yeah, we think your son's broke his leg.
All right.
And this is all, I'm going to preface this by, this is all with humor. So my wife, who's my second wife, says to me, what's wrong? I said, they think Brendan broke his leg. And they're going to meet me near Cookstown. And they'll put him in my car and I'll take him down to the hospital. And my wife looks at me and says, are you okay? I said, absolutely. He called me.
Of course.
And then and his mom came to the hospital, but
Right.
And again, it was just, but yeah, no, it's different stages in life, because I also remember when Brendan was 7 and he was at my house for the weekend with my new wife at the time, and he was really sick, and he said, I really want to go to mom's.
Yeah, of course.
And I said, yeah, no problem. Let me call mom.
Yeah.
And totally get it. And then I remember my wife saying to me, are you okay that he wanted to go to his mom? I said, absolutely. I totally get it. There's a difference.
Who needs a snot-nosed kid who's got running a fever hanging around? I mean,
That was Renee Vanette making that.
No, but
it's true.
Yeah.
But it's true. But you look at those things and it's all in perspective. Now let's talk a little bit more about the law. Okay. In this. Now, I got out of the personal injury, the traditional personal injury, so I don't have this as much anymore.
Okay.
What's the most deceptive client you've ever had? Because I know the one I had.
I mean,
and what do you do?
I mean, if they're just lying saxy, you know what, which sometimes happen and you don't know it up front.
Right.
Like there's some you can
Sniff out?
like immediately.
Yep.
But there's some that it is a gradual discovery. Or there's some specific event when usually if I can't just settle the case quickly at that point, I'm going to get off the record.
So what was the worst thing that happened? Like, I know for me, I got a call from this lawyer on the case, the defense counsel, and she says to me, "We need to talk about your client." I said, "Why? What's going on?" "We've been doing surveillance." I said, "All right." And I take that with a grain of salt because you know what? Surveillance can be so misleading. "We have your guy moving his friend out of an apartment building over 4 hours, carrying all this stuff. And then we have your guy in the mall carrying a flat screen TV and then going back and forth to Best Buy with other stuff." And they had done the discovery, and this guy had obviously said, "I can't do anything." Mm-hmm. And I said, "Okay, leave it with me." Because I know I'm done. This guy's done. And first thing, and they actually sent me the video, because that's the first thing you always say is, "Let me see the video," because I did have one occasion where they thought they had my guy on video,
and they did,
and it was his brother. So
make sure it's the right person.
Make sure it's the right person. Yeah. So it was my guy, and he doesn't know I have this tape. And I bring him into the office. I can't remember his name, but I said,
"You would not tell it even if you could."
This guy would. Oh. This guy would. No. But I said, "Listen, I got information that you're moving people out of their apartment. You're in whatever mall carrying." Nope.
Oh, yeah.
"Well, as they say on the old sports shows, let's go to the videotape." Yeah. And we went to the videotape, and he says, "It's not me." I said, "That is you." He goes, "It's my twin brother." Okay.
So when did he get a twin?
Right. I said, "Okay. You don't have a twin brother." Okay. And if you can prove to me you have a twin brother, fine. Obviously, he couldn't prove it.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not going to go and try and sell that case. I'm just not. I said to him, "Here's your choice. You can either go and get a new lawyer now, act for yourself, but it's not going to be me. And if you don't do that, I'll get off the record because I don't want to be personally involved with something like that. It's just, I don't want to get that. I never wanted that reputation."
No, of course not. But defense counsel probably knew that you were just as surprised as they were.
Yes.
I mean, it's not that. I mean, if I think that my client is, a bald-faced liar, and there's no foundation for their claim,
right,
I'm not going to continue to represent them. Period.
Right.
But I had an interesting case. Went through a 3-week hearing at FSCO back in the days of the Financial Services Commission of Ontario, hearing on whether this individual was catastrophically impaired. Mm-hmm. And they were deemed catastrophically impaired. Mm-hmm. And I believe that they absolutely met the criteria. It wasn't just, it was a worthy cause. Mm-hmm. I'll put it that way. This was a man with 3 young children and a lovely wife, and it was just a horrible situation based on the changes in him as a result of the accident.
Right.
So I was able to settle the accident benefits claim for a substantial amount of money. Right. Then I proceeded on the tort matter to go to a pretrial. Mm-hmm. And one thing that I think I didn't appreciate the way defense counsel, and in particular the adjuster for the insurance company, handled the situation. Mm-hmm. But instead of disclosing to me that they had surveillance of my client, they present it to me and the judge.
No, that's wrong.
At the pretrial.
Yeah, I've had that happen.
And this guy is out in the garden with a shovel, shoveling, his vegetables or whatever, trying to make a garden. And his impairments were based, his how he was determined catastrophically impaired was based on emotional and behavioral impairments,
Right.
which is different than,
Absolutely.
I've broken my arm or my back or my whatever. But chronic pain was a factor in that. But, at that point, there was nothing I could do. My case was ruined. I was able to still settle it. I was still able, because it was still a value there. But that was so disappointing because I'd really invested a lot of time. But I think the worst of it for me was because I think he still really was entitled to the money. I think that he was somebody who had trouble managing his mood, and he would rage, and I think that this was more an acting out of his rage and his frustration than it was that he was really functional, because I don't think he was. And it was disappointing for his wife and his kids too, because I thought, I just felt, but this is one snapshot in time that you can't just explain away to a jury.
No.
Not that level of physical activity.
It was like we had a woman, we were at trial, we were in the middle of trial. We had shown our client the surveillance of her that was given to us properly. Gardening on July 1st. And we said to her, there's no problem with you gardening. Okay? Based on your injuries, the worst thing that you could say is, I don't garden. You caught me on the only day in the last 5 years that I've gardened. What does she say? I don't garden. You caught me on the only day I've gardened in the last 5 years. And it's like, no one's going to believe that. And we settled the case, but it's just frustrating. It's just frustrating because we give our clients the benefit of the doubt. And I honestly believe, at least when I did motor vehicle, I really thought defense counsel thought everyone was a fraud until proven otherwise. And that's how I felt.
I don't think it's that way now.
Okay.
At least that's not
Okay.
what I pick up on.
Right.
But every time I prepare a personal injury client for an examination for discovery, I always say to them, no matter what, I don't care if you think the answer is going to hurt your case or help your case. You absolutely tell the truth.
That's right.
Because sure as hell, you try to paint it a different color, or you twerk it a little because you want to convince them that you're really injured, and you ruin your case flat out.
Well,
and I can't fix that.
No, you know what they always say: the cover-up is much worse than the crime.
No, it's
so
the
true.
truth.
It's
like,
true.
just tell the truth, and everything will fall into place.
Absolutely.
As it should.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's it for episode 6.
Okay.
All right. So, folks, thanks for tuning in, watching on all your different social media platforms. Please like, subscribe, and
what's the other?
Like, subscribe,
Comment.
and comment. Oh, please comment.
Look, you've let us down as host. Anyway.
I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Anyways, we'll be back with episode 7, and I hope everyone has a good week.